The sun is setting. The dog finally stopped barking. Life is good. But inside, there's trouble brewing, and Emma has no idea. Although she feels fine, like her father, Emma is one of the 67 million adults in the U.S. with high blood pressure or hypertension. Just like her radiator that's on the fritz, Emma's heart is working overtime to get the job done. Let's have a look. The heart is the pump in our bodies, delivering blood to the entire system through a set of pipes, or blood vessels of all sizes. Smoking, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, physical inactivity, family history, and increased age all contribute to these blood vessels, or our pipes, becoming less elastic. The more blood our heart has to pump through stiff, narrowing arteries, the higher our blood pressure. When the force of the blood against our artery walls is too high, life-threatening health problems can result. Problems like kidney disease, heart disease, stroke, even heart attack. Can Emma get her pressure down before it's too late?
You did the two things we always talk about. What's that? You worked hard and you...
Have fun.
Have fun, my man.
It's a real star you got there.
Thanks.
Take care of those hands. They're taking you places.
I got hands. I'm gonna go pro.
You definitely could.
Easy money.
Easy money. Have you ever thought about what else you could be? Go along, son. You could be a brain surgeon. Your hands could operate as skillfully as Dr. Myron Rowe. Or a sports agent, handling big contracts, like Rich Paul. What about an artist? You can be as creative as Brian Blue, the Great. The art you make could inspire the world. Son, you can even be an astronaut. Flying in space with Leland D. Melvin. Sure, with those hands, you could play for a team, but you could buy a team. Ownership. Get to wear the rings first.
I can do all that, Dad?
You can be anything you want with these hands.
Hello, everybody. This is David Evans from Washington, D.C. Also with my favorite person, Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia. She just got off of a brand new hot show, y'all. Michelle Cox show. It was amazing today. She had a great person on doing another interview. How you doing today, Michelle?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Every day is amazing. But before we get into our show, let's give some things out. Almi's on vacation. She'll be back when she gets back with her husband, enjoying herself out there. And Mr. Leroy Carlton, he had a family issue. We're sending prayers to his family and to his dad, and he will be back once they settle their family emergency. So, Dr. Evans, as always, we pray for our colleagues where they are all around the world.
I want to thank you, Michelle, for just keep pressing on. You know, we send our love and prayers for those in Mississippi with so much going on. And you from Mississippi, so you know the devastation and the pain, Alabama, Mississippi, down in that area, when we see that the hurricane and devastation of people down there who have to restart their life all over again, you know. And one of the things that we do on PIC TV Network, we always give back. And I want to thank you, Michelle, for always supporting and giving back to everybody on PIC TV.
Well, that's our job. Number one, remember, PIC TV, the People's Information Channel, and what we do is we inspire, we inform, and we educate. We also entertain a little bit too, but the main thing is to elevate our communities. So I'm always glad to be here and always glad to be with you on these broadcasts.
Well, you are an award-winning anchor person on here with Hello America. You know, the Michelle Cox Show is popping and rocking right now. We're going to talk about that a little later. But we started a new segment, new series. We like in series number 5 of a brand new show that we started, Michelle. And again, I'm so happy about the wise banking and credit cards. And let's get into it today. Banking and credit cards. Everybody, most people who watch right has a banking account and also a credit card. How can we better ourselves with these two things, Michelle? How can we keep ourselves in a good standard with our banking and credit cards?
Well, before we get into that, I want to play a little segment for you that I watched. Okay. It's from PBS and Frontline, and it's called Easy Money. Because right now, when we talk about banking and wise banking, we also have to talk about the 2 banks that have been restructured now because the FDIC took them over. But let's view a little of what happened to get us here. All right, everybody.
Silicon Valley Bank has collapsed and federal regulators have taken control.
Trying to stem any sort of contagion effect.
Impacting tech startups, leaving customers in limbo.
Raising concerns about the broader economy.
If we hadn't been driving our economy with easy money and then trying to really quickly undo that, we wouldn't be having these problems now.
Americans can rest assured that our banking system is safe.
In a special Frontline investigation,
we're now facing a world of many potential outcomes.
The inside story of an age of easy money.
Every financial function had failed, and we had to restore them.
Do you think it was a radical policy?
I most certainly did think it was a radical policy.
Did the Fed inject money into the economy?
About recent government stimulus programs.
When the Fed changes to the primary engine of economic growth, it's supposed to be our democratic institutions that do that, not the central bank.
And an uncertain future.
Pain for American families.
It's not just that we're getting more calls, it's that the folks who are calling us are in greater distress.
Correspondent James Jacoby investigates.
How remote is the possibility that there could be much higher unemployment in the next couple of years?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's remote.
Now on Frontline.
It really is difficult to overstate how important this story is and how much it matters.
I don't know if I can safely say that we're at the bottom, because of what we're looking back at, this age of easy money.
Wow. Amazing. Michelle, unmute yourself.
And we have to give credit due right now to PBS and the Frontline for letting us use that clip.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about easy money, because I really want to get into this, because we're talking about wise banking and credit cards. When we talk about a bank that has been dissolved or had to be restructured, what was the bank doing? Well, when Leroy was here in the last segment, we talked about the banks take the money that we deposit and they loan it to businesses. Well, we had a section, a charter of a time where when the Obama administration was here and we had banks failing because of predatory lending. And I'm just going to tell you what predatory lending is, just in case you don't know. Predatory lending is where they were doing the subprime loans. They were lending people money for houses on stated income. They weren't even checking to see if they had the correct credit to get these types of loans. They were just giving out this money. But what happened is anytime you overextend and then you can't pay back, that's when we start to have these collapses. So that's what happened with subprime loans and subprime loans. We had both of those. And then we had subprime commercial loans on commercial properties. So now we see ourselves back kind of in this triple bubble that's going on with us right now. So when we talk about wise banking, that's why we have the FDIC. But anytime they remove regulations, what can happen is you can have collapses because there are people that aren't thinking about your money. They're thinking about only how they can make money. And when we have that disconnect and there are no checks and balances, then we have situations like SVC. So let's go a little bit further. We had several banks, when I say several, a whole lot of them, back in 2008 when Bush left office. Our economy was in collapse. We had foreclosures, and those foreclosures and predatory lending, it hampered 50% of the Black community. A whole lot of European Americans, Italian Americans, and even Asians, everybody got hurt. But when regular America catches a cold, we catch pneumonia. So in this, we've had that Bush failure, Obama came in, and then what Obama was trying to do at the time, he was giving these loans, he was shoring up this with the Fed so businesses could retool, they could hire more, and then we could grow the economy. But what did Wall Street do? What did a lot of businesses do? They took that money, and instead of rebuilding the communities, rebuilding our nation, they did stock buybacks. Which, if you look about a stock buyback, anytime a company's buying back its stock, there's a red line. There's trouble here. Because think about it. If they went on and put that money back into community, back into good jobs, back into getting us back to where we needed to be in manufacturing, we wouldn't be sitting on a triple bubble right now. So now that we have that, then they cut interest rates. We had interest rates down to zero. Well, if you can't make money on your money, but the bank is still making money on their money, and that's your money, what happens is your wealth tends to stop. If you're counting on the bank and you're counting on interest, or even if you're counting on certificate of deposit, because for a while there, even on CDs, certificates of deposit, they were only given 2.34%. And that was Ally and just a few banks. That's why we talked about annuities. Annuities, they give you 8 to 9%, where banks don't give you that much, even though they have wealth products. When we talk about wealth products, we're talking about wealth products for them. Credit cards, your APRs, 23%, 24%, 29%, all the way up to 35%. But you can't get, if you put $10,000 in your bank at 0% interest, you got zero. 10,000 times zero is zero all day. But the banks were still making money. So now we have to deal with the greed of Wall Street, because we see, and people look at the inflated number, companies are inflating their values. And that's what happened earlier today. There's a whole segment out there. Young lady, she's defrauded Microsoft. And so much so that they're taking her to court, and she's going to jail because she got her company valuated by overinflating the number of clients that she had. She told them that she had 3 million clients when she only had 300,000. They bought her company on what she said her valuation was on. Now she's being sued. So the same thing happened with big business. We're talking about the Apples, the Microsoft, all of those. They had all these buybacks and it inflated their values. Now, as the Fed has pulled back and started to raise interest rates, these businesses are struggling because they no longer have access to easy money. The question is should we bail them out again? Now, Dr. Evans, come on in, because I want to have this conversation with you. So we know about what happened in the Obama administration. We know that 8 years, he got elected because America was desperate. Let's everybody be honest about it. Bush Jr. had put it in the tank. The banks were too big to fail, failing. Wall Street collapsing. And what they wanted to prevent was a full-blown recession. Is that correct, Dr. Evans?
Yeah, it went all day long,
And that's why they started the Fed was like, we're going to cut interest rate, cut interest. They cut it to zero. They've done this for over 10 years. And then when Trump came in office, Obama had handed him, the ship was steady. He handed it over to Trump. This was a time when the Fed should have been slowly raising interest rates. But as soon as they raised the interest rate, Trump said, he tweeted, the Fed doesn't know what they're doing. And it caused the market to have what they call a tantrum. And stocks went down. But our company is bigger than the stock. Our country is bigger than the stock market. The companies are bigger than the stock market. And that's what people have to realize. And right now, when we talk about wise banking and credit cards, we're a nation that's in debt, not only as a nation, but as people. Dr. Evans, did you know that most households are carrying $8,000 to $15,000 in credit card debt?
Wow.
Or
I
even
can believe
more
it.
if you count student loans.
Yeah, I can believe it. You know, Michelle, when you're talking, I love the information you're sharing with the world on PIC TV network. And this is why you're the #1 anchor person on our network. But I want to break it down to some basic people, Michelle. This is the dollar. And it says again, in God we trust, of course. And it's a legal tender. And it's for all debts. So why are we in debt, Michelle? If it's for all debts, why are we in debt?
Well, think about it. And let's think about it. And let's, as they say, let's do the hard line. It's a credit card. You can buy stuff on credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that you have money. Credit and money are two different things. When we talk about credit, you're spending money that you're borrowing that you have to pay back. But what happens in times of distress when you can't pay it back? What happens not only when you can't pay it back, but you lose your job or you have a health crisis like I did when I had the breast cancer.
Yeah.
If you're in a corporation or you have a company that you're really solvent and you can take care of those bills and you can keep your household going, you're not going to have a problem. But what happens when people get through? We talked about how much money that they should have in reserve, that 6 months, that 9 months, that year of reserve, and they go through it. That's what happened in the housing crash of 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
People had leveraged everything in credit and they didn't have the capital, that money, put that dollar up. They didn't have the finance.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the money to pay the
How
debt.
you got more than me? How you got more than me, Michelle? I'm the president. How you got more than me, Michelle?
Hey, that's just today. That's just today.
So Michelle, when somebody get this, Michelle, and I'm gonna send it to you to your bank, where's it go? I'm sending it. I'm putting it in your deposit, Michelle. Here you go. I'm sending it to Atlanta, Georgia, and it disappears from me. What do you do with my money when I put it in, Michelle? What do you do?
Now, smart money says that I should be investing. If you're using a bank account, and this is what we've been telling everybody for the last 4 weeks, if you're using a bank account to save your money, you're not saving money.
Mm-hmm.
You can only save money when you can build upon the wealth that you have. That means instead of the bank getting 19, 20, 23, 24, 25, 29% on your money and giving you zero, you need to find ways to make your money work for you. That's wise banking. That's why Mr. Carlton said, I have my bank account to pay my bills with, but I have my annuity to make sure that I get paid. I have he's like, I have annuities for my children and my grandchildren. I have an annuity. That's the only way that you're going to start to have residual income, because you as a person, everybody here, even you, Dr. Evans, you can be the bank. You can create your own bank by having an annuity. That annuity is collateral. You can borrow against that annuity and pay yourself back. If you remember Leroy, when he was on here, he told you he borrowed from his annuity. He borrowed his own money to pay for his car cash and paid himself back.
Mm-hmm.
And his money's still making money. That's the difference.
Correct.
That's wise banking. Now, when we talk about credit cards, again, He says you should have no more than 2 credit cards.
Yeah.
But the credit cards you have, are they paying you? That's the big deal.
Yeah.
To be effective in the credit card game, you have to be what Ben Stein says, not a revolver. A revolver is a person that they pay their bill, they pay the same bill over and over and over again for 15 or 20 years. Anybody that has a credit card and they pay it off every month and they get cash back, those are the people that the credit card companies, they don't like, because you, in a sense, are using their money and getting money back for your goods and services. There's a young man that's been doing this, and he does it really successfully. He has a YouTube channel. What he's done is he pays all his mortgage, his insurance, everything on the credit card, but every month he pays it off. But his credit card is giving him 3% back. So when he pays his credit card off every month, he's getting 3% on the money that he's using. Imagine if we all did that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's why the age of easy money isn't going anywhere. It's gone. It's gone. Because now the interest rates are going up because they're trying to slow inflation. Are they doing too much too fast? I think so. Because you can't make a correction, a 10-year correction in a year. And that's when we talk about the head of the Fed, which is Mr. Powell. He's making hard decisions. But even if you talk about Dave Ramsey, he tells you that we have to make hard decisions. We have to take this time and rein in our spending. We also have to make sure that we have residual income. The only way to do that is, a sister friend was on IG today. She said, every time you go outside, there's an opportunity to spend money, because we've been locked down in COVID, and COVID has caused some of the things that we're going through. But the other part has been caused by greed. Because instead of taking the money that the Fed was lending money easily and rebuilding American society, rebuilding American business, doing the infrastructures, these business people took that money and gave themselves major bonuses. So while everybody's mad at Obama, mad at Trump, mad at Biden, but we won't get mad at the people that have caused some of these issues. Now we have to look at our society, because they're in debt and we as individuals are in debt. And when are we going to start taking responsibility? Dr. Evans, it's time for us to take a commercial break. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Wise Banking and Credit Card here on the PIC TV network. We'll be back momentarily.
Hello, everybody. We're here with the one and only Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia to Washington, D.C. on Hello America. Michelle, I want to thank you again for just keeping this program alive and giving everybody some information. Education is the process of learning. Get your pencils, get your pads, take advantage of this opportunity today. We're in our 4th segment today, folks. We have a brand new show on the Pick TV network, and it's called Wise Banking and Credit Cards. And our financial educator today is Michelle Cox. Michelle, give us some more information. You did some research on this Proctor and get information. Tell us some more about what we're going to learn on this segment.
All right, so let's talk about the Fed. When we talk about the Fed, we're talking about the people that control money. Now, what we have, unfortunately, in Congress and the Senate is we have a stalemate. Our people in politics are acting like children. And then we wonder why our children are acting out. Because instead of working together to solve the crisis, all they're thinking about is keeping us in chaos. And because they're keeping us in chaos, all these things are slipping by. Anytime somebody rules in chaos, you know what happens? They tend to let this money rule them. Think about it. We get a whole bunch of false crises, and then when we get a real crisis, people are numb to it. That's why we have to make sure that we're educated. Number one, when we had easy money, there are things that they should have been doing all the time. Number one, rebuilding the business. Number two, making sure that the labor force was trained and ready for this new age of STEM and technology. Because if you look at the Black community and you look at the Asian community and you look at the Indians from India, not Native Americans, and other people that even come here, what they do is they try to establish wealth. Well, we have some things that have happened where we've been marginalized. There's a book called The Color of Money, Black Banks and Racism. So when we talk about the money that we lost, because we weren't even able to have or own our own banks. The first bank that was chartered for the freedmen was set up. We made deposits because they said African Americans need to be thrifty. You need to become homeowners. You need to show us that you're part of the American dream. We did that. Millions of people put money into the Freedmen's National Bank. They put a white guy over this bank. He lent the money to white communities and absconded with that money, and all these Black people lost money. So they lost faith in the banking system. Now, these times are coming again, but we have Black banks. We also have Black credit unions. If you go to YouTube and you put in 50 Black banks and credit unions, you'll see that we own banks. One United is one of them. Here in Atlanta, Citizen Trust is another Black bank. So we have our own banking institutions. But again, in order to be stable and in order to build wealth, we have to get outside of the banking industry. And that doesn't mean that we put our money in the stock market either. Because as you know, the stock market is a game of speculation. They're bidding on the future of that company, how it's going to go. But just like now, housing is still being foreclosed. We still have COVID. We still have the commercial subprime real estate going on. And the Fed is raising interest rates because we have this runaway inflation. The house that I purchased back in 2005, $140,000, worth $350,000, but some of that is inflated value. Now, you want to buy a home. The median price of a home in the area that I live in is $300,000 to $400,000. That means for a regular family just starting out, the American dream is no longer their dream; it's their nightmare. Because to start a home at $400,000, you're making $17 to $20 an hour. You can't get up. You can't buy a house. It's out of your price range. What's going to happen if we're not careful? We'll be like the French during the French Revolution. People were poor. There were bread lines. The people in power let them eat cake. They got tired, and what they did was they started to riot, and they started killing all the rich people. That's not something that we want to do in this society. We can do things right now. Our government, us, working together, and inside the halls of government, the Democrats and the Republicans and the independents, everybody has to get on the same page. We can no longer sit by and be partisan. We can no longer sit there and bicker with each other. We have to help each other get out of this situation, because if not, trust me, countries are starting to drop the dollar. We are not the currency that we used to be. And we're in trillions of dollars in debt. Can we get out of it? Absolutely. Anybody that's been in debt before and got out of it, we know the keys to do that. Is it going to be a little bit painful? Absolutely. But it can be done. And so for you at home, some of the things that you need to do is, number one, if you have a problem with your credit card, this is the time where you need to seek out people that can help you. You don't have to pay for these services. There are services that you can get through SCORE and other agencies, especially seniors. AARP has a good program. If you have AAA, they also have a good program. You can start to do the research, but that means you're going to have to pay down your debt. That means less going out, less eating out. That's the reality. That's where we are now. And our country is going to have to get there. And that's why we had to put the brakes on the easy money. Dr. Evans, I want to play another piece of this clip if you don't mind.
No, come on. We're ready for it.
Brutal week in the market. The Dow and the S&P now on track for their worst December since the Great Depression.
The global financial system short circuits.
The decline will accelerate if Jay Powell doesn't walk things back.
The president threw a tantrum too.
I think the Fed has gone crazy. It's a correction that I think is caused by the Federal Reserve. If the Fed knew what it was doing, they would lower rates and they would stop quantitative tightening.
The president has been attacking the Fed chair on Twitter very often for raising interest rates.
With the Fed's decision to raise interest rates, he suggested it would hurt
The tweet he said quantitative tightening was a killer, should have done the exact opposite.
Powell would change course.
The Federal Reserve cut a key short-term interest rate today after raising it as recently as December.
You see this complete reversal and what a lot of investors and economists saw as a capitulation to financial markets. Financial markets don't like this, so the Fed's going to reverse course. And that has defined Chair Powell ever since then.
A tricky balancing act for Chairman Powell. He'll now face criticism that the Fed has bowed to pressure from the White House or Wall Street or both, sacrificing the central bank's precious independence.
The Fed blinked, and the Fed reversed course when the market was down sort of 20% and went from tightening policy to easing policy. And it became very clear to the market that saving the stock market was now one of the Fed mandates. And I think that had really ominous ramifications for the future.
Wow.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Michelle, let me pause to say, I want to pause to say, Michelle, you watched this whole presentation, and we're going to put it up with everybody else can watch it. And I want to say, as African Americans, a lot of us are still learning the process because we never had the opportunity to read the Wall Street growing up in elementary school and junior high school. I was on the basketball team, so I was looking at the sports section every day and see how many points I scored. But when we're talking about the level of information today, the people you had on there, they know numbers. The people you have on there, you're talking about not no $10, $20 that we're talking about. You're talking about hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of dollars.
No, we're talking about billions and trillions of dollars. We're talking about
wow,
billions and
Michelle,
trillions
I want you to talk. Michelle, I want you to educate us for a minute. Being an African American, I want to use me for an example. I came up in Washington, D.C. My mother and father struggled. We had 9 kids. I still don't understand everything happening on Wall Street. Why is it important as far as us to get the information that's out here today through technology, Michelle, and to instead of writing music, and that's good, instead of doing rapping, and that's good, but using this to understand how we can invest in this? Talk about that, Michelle, for our color. I want you to talk to us, and I know you're talking to everybody, but why it's so important for us to know that what you're presenting today is valuable.
Well, I'll give you a short story. When I was 12 years old, I was reading the USA Today. It was a very new newspaper then. And it had on the front page, it had Chrysler stock going down to 50 cents a share. Chrysler's in trouble. Is Chrysler going to fold? So when it went down to 50 cents a share, I ran home to my parents. And I told them, I said, Mom, Dad, we need $2,000. We need to buy this Chrysler stock. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, we need to put money in the stock market now. And my dad was like, I don't understand, and we don't do this. And then my mom was like, we don't understand, but tell us your argument. Tell us, debate us on it, and bring us up to speed. Well, think about it. The U.S. military, and I'm talking about all the branches, use Chrysler vehicles, trucks. Even the 2.5-ton trucks were all Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge vehicles. So there's no way that the United States government was going to let Chrysler fold. And if my mom and dad had have gone and got that $2,000, borrowed it, put it in the stock market, when my father retired in 1987, from that 50 cents a share, it went to $87.78 when he retired. They would have had $315,000 in wealth. That would have paid off both of their houses, and that would have left generational wealth for the grandkids. That's why we have to know about the stock market. We have to research the companies and what's behind the companies, not just what you see on the ticker, but you actually have to go and see their financial pages. How are they doing? What's going on? What's the new innovation? What are they bringing to the market? Because you can go and buy stock, but right now, buying stock would do you no good, because the numbers for a lot of companies, they're inflated. You have to look behind the curtain. That's why it's important for you to educate yourself. That's why it's important for you to learn about banking, finance, and all the things about these companies and what they're doing. Are they bringing something new to market? Is it a proven technology? Has it been standardized? These are all things that you have to look at when we're talking about investing and growing wealth. Then let's step away from the stock market for a second, Dr. Evans. What are ways that you can bring in residual income? What about direct relationship marketing? We're talking about Mary Kay. We're talking about Club Secret. We're talking about Avon. Or how are you building your business? Do you know your market share? Do you know your numbers? Everybody watches Shark Tank. These guys are here to make money. Why do you think they call them sharks? They're investors. They want to make their money, keep making money. When somebody comes on there and they see them, they have a really, really good idea, they'll buy their whole company. The question is, now that this person, because there was a young man that got $200 million from the Sharks. They bought 100% of their company. What is he doing with the money that he got from the Sharks? Did he take this money, pay whatever taxes he had to pay? Because at the time Trump was president, he lowered the interest rate to 21% for businesses. You pay your 21%, but he should have been putting a large portion of that in an annuity. That way, every year he's getting 9% interest on $150 million.
Yeah.
He no longer has to worry about it because his money is making money. Then he can take some of that money and reinvest it in communities. He can buy houses. He can buy property.
this is my point, Michelle. When you have a person who never had money, and when they get $100, and I send it to Michelle because I want the Jordans. I send it to Michelle because I want the Murray Cat or the best finest outfit. I'm spending. I'm not turning this dollar right here, Michelle, into $100. It's easy to spend this, but you're talking about investorship, and I've been thinking about for the last 4 days about ownership, owning. Just like I have my truck, my final payment. You know how good I felt when I made my final payment on my truck.
Boom.
And they sent me the title deed. I own that. They don't have to worry about the snatch man taking it. I don't about no more payments, nothing else. BMW Financial Services, so long, goodbye. And I'm not thinking about buying another one. I just want to ease out and then invest.
So I want you to do this. I want you to do
I want you to think about this.
No, I got you. I want you to do this. The money that you were paying for that car note, that money that you were paying for that car note, take that money every month, put it in an account. Then when you get to $5,000, because that won't take you long, it'll take you less than a year, because I know BMW payments are high. Take that money and put in an annuity. That money is going to make you money. And then all you have to do is continue to take that money that you were paying on that car and put it on that annuity.
You know what BMW stands for, right? A black man working. That's why I'm a black man working. That's my BMW. But Michelle, when you haven't seen these and you get $100 and you give it away, Michelle, because you want to get a new car, you want to get the nice outfits, you want to eat at the finest dinner. My mindset is always splurge, splurge and splurge. But I'm moving to the ownership mindset now of investing, how to flip and turn this around, and how to keep it coming in my pocket instead of going out of my pocket. Because most of my life, Michelle, it's been going out. It's been going out.
That's what we learned. That's what we learned. And BMW also stands for Black Money Wasted. I just wanted you to know that.
Look at my bill. Look at my bill around here, Michelle.
Well, at the end of the day,
look at my bill.
One thing.
They say the black dollar goes out of our community, Michelle. And it was a Jewish person.
It circulates one time. It leaves our community in 8 seconds.
Jesus.
And so instead of looking at, we do status. Black people have an economy of $1.6 trillion annually. $1.6 trillion annually. What we're learning to do, it's not that we haven't, we're learning to do this. We're turning the tide. But it took having to go through the pain of what we've gone through and realizing that we have to get our financial house in order. There's a wonderful woman. She's an economist and she's a financial expert, Lynn Richardson. Everybody can look her up. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She has Wealth University. She teaches people how to save. She teaches you how to not only understand finance, but to grow wealth. So we now have to get out of the spend mentality into the generational wealth mentality. There's another company, there's another club, and these are all Black people. They call themselves the Black Trust Fund Babies.
Wow.
Because they're leaving generational wealth to their kids and their families. They're the ones that are building these new hotels.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are doing the ownership that you talked about.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to get back to. We have to get back to where we're owning and we're saving. We're being thrifty. And then we have to bring others with us.
Yeah.
The other part of that, and I told you, Dr. Evans, me personally, my job is to make sure that we start to rebuild blighted neighborhoods. That's the big thing, because you talked about gentrification. I'm not worried about gentrification. We need to go in with our Black dollars, with our people, and with our hands. For the people that don't have money, they call it sweat equity. Okay, we come in, a group of us, we start to rebuild these houses for our neighbors, we start to put in the equity. Warwick Dunn is a great champion of that. Warwick Dunn used to play for the Atlanta Falcons. He has the Warwick Dunn Charities and the foundation. What he's been doing, he's given away over 241 homes to single parents and to families. In that, he's building generational wealth. Anytime we can, when we go and we donate our dollars to the United Negro College Fund to help somebody pay for an education, we're giving them generational wealth because that is a student loan that they don't have to pay. Mr. Frederick Smith, venture partners, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, he paid over $40 million of student debt for the Morehouse graduates. That is creating a legacy of generational wealth. So anytime I hear African American and Black people say we don't help each other, it's a false narrative. We've been helping each other all the time. The thing about it is what we've been fed. That's why they call it programming. Other networks, that's why they call it programming. They show you the negative. They show you the crime, the robberies, instead of showing you the good things that we're doing. There's a lot of good things going on. Oprah Winfrey started a school. Tyler Perry, here in Atlanta, bought Fort McPherson, turned it into a studio, and he hires not only Black people, everybody else, but he's been hiring people that have been coming out of incarceration, lifting our neighborhoods up, giving people jobs, and making sure that we have generational wealth. That's how we get there. We're doing it. We have to continue on the path. Dr. Evans, back to you.
And Michelle, you're passionate about this. This is an educational program, folks. We're not playing games and playing around. You know, we're talking about wise banking and credit cards. We talked about when we first started the program, I think the second show, that African Americans, my mother and father and great grandfather, the credit cards wasn't even made for them. It wasn't even made for us, you know. Of course, today everybody has credit cards and rolling with the plastic, but it wasn't made for us. And I believe we have to have programs like this so we can be educated, which is the process of learning how things work. When I put up this artificial money, don't try to bribe me because this is artificial. Don't even come over my house. This is artificial. You want to see it? Let me see it. It's artificial. That's the real thing. This is artificial. So, Michelle, I wanted to say again, the mindset of a lot of young people today, when I get my money, I'm going to get the nicest car, man. I'm going to get my Jag. I'm going to get my Mercedes. I'm going to get my fine car. I'm going to get my outfit. But not thinking about we making rich the person who owns the Mercedes. We making rich the person who owns the Gucci's and Versace's. We making them rich because they own. So our mentality should be, I want to own.
Well,
I want to own my own.
Let's talk about that for just a minute. Now, when we talk about not only owning, but we're talking about the money that we put out, because I told you the Black economy is $1.6 trillion annually. That's what we spent. So when we talk about flipping it and bringing it back, we need to know one thing. First thing is our mindset. So many years, Black people have lived in lack. And what we did, if you remember Robin Leach, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and programs like that, people are looking at those programs. And if you've been poor, you're like, and you were wearing kids, and you know, if your shoes slip and slide, get the ones with the stars on the side, those kind of things. Anytime you have a child that has lived in poverty and they get a chance to be affluent, but without financial guidance, this is what we get. This is where we have this $1.6 trillion every year going out the door instead of circulating in the Black community, instead of building wealth in the Black community. Because we have that mindset of lack. We live in a world of want. Well, once we get out of that, and we are getting ourselves out of that, we have to, number one, rein our spending in. Number two, look to not only invest in our properties, but invest in ourselves. ROI, return on investment. How are you investing in yourself in order to create generational wealth? And I'm not talking about having 3 menial jobs. I'm talking about, do you have enough information, or you have a product and service that you can sell that's going to start to generate wealth? And that doesn't mean you have to start big. If you think about Damon John, FUBU, he was out on the corner selling his little hats, selling his t-shirts. He was running around trying to get the rappers, hey, where my gear? So people see my gear. And once he got branded, then he could step up. Now he's a philanthropist. He does other things. Besides Shark Tanks, he's doing other things. Then you have Percy Miller, better known as Master P. He's part owner in Rap Snacks. So again, you have businessmen. There are more Black businessmen than you can think about. You're thinking about Robert Johnson, who started Johnson & Johnson Product Company. E.F. Young, they started E.F. Young Cosmetics. J.G. Gaskin, he had a hotel empire. This is before Black people could stay at the Holiday Inn, the Marriott, the Wyatt, the Hyatt, and any of the other hotels. So we have to go back to the basics. I don't know if you remember the young lady from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. She saved $100,000 washing other people's laundry and donated it so a young person can go to college. $100,000. Imagine if her taking in laundry, saving that money, cutting those coupons, tightening the belt, cooking at home. If she can do it, if even 2 out of 10 of us do that, we're creating generational wealth.
And this is the reason why
mindset that we're lacking.
This is the reason why
have on a Gucci shirt. You don't need to have, Gucci belts and Louis Vuitton. If they're not paying you, if you're not a brand ambassador, you're not getting money to wear it, you need to rethink the mindset. What happened to the days of being clean?
Yeah, this is the reason why, Michelle, when I see $1.6 trillion flowing from our community and from our people, this is the reason why a lot of people who are not of our color and not of our background come into our communities and sell the same food that we sell a lot of times, soul food per se, and cook in our neighborhood and buy and get our money because of this reason right here. This $1.6 trillion. That ain't no little amount, Michelle.
Well, that's why they market to us. So at the end of the day, and when you talk about people that come from other countries, just so you know the immigration status, if you're a brown person, an Asian person, because for Chinese people and other Asian people, they had the Exclusion Act of 1884. They weren't even letting Asian people come here. Then if you're a person from another country, you have to have wealth to come here. If you have wealth and you're bringing wealth here, because just so you know, the country of Uganda just found 220 million tons of gold. They are the new gold standard. That's why when you talk about the United States and the economy, if we don't get our house together, we're going to be the next third world country. So now that we get out of this mindset of lack, what's wrong with eating beans and rice? What's wrong with eating a bologna sandwich? What's wrong with taking your lunch to work? There's nothing wrong with it. We've been sold that we have to spend. We've been sold that we have to be consumers. We do not. But the other part of it is people don't even know. There's a whole collection of Black farmers. Are you going out of your way to support Black business? Oh, they're too high. Mm-hmm. But you'll buy other people's stuff and not even look at the price tag. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about buying from us, not all of us, but the people that say, dealing with Black people, your prices are too high. You haven't looked out the outlay. If you go to Publix, you're not going to tell Publix your prices are too high. You're not going to tell Kroger's your prices are too high. You're not going to tell Albertsons and Smith your prices are too high. We have to get out of the mindset of lack. And that's where we are today. and we have
And-
to
and-
rise
and-
together.
And what you said
It's
was very important. You said out of the mindset of spending, you know, $1.6 trillion. You know what we can do if we come together, and we can build our own hospitals, we can build our own schools, we can build our own community centers, we can build our own senior citizen centers. You know, we can build our own whatever. You know, we come together and we invest in this instead of it going out, you know, to make it come back. And this is my mindset. Next month, I'll be 61 years old, Michelle, and I'm going to own more. I want to own more. I want to pave the way of the future of owning, you know, something more than a pair of Jordans. And I like those, you know, or just a new outfit, a new suit. I want to own more than that. Like I stated earlier, for those listening, this is a very important television show. Michelle and I are doing, and matter of fact, we have 2 financial experts or financial educators that couldn't make it tonight for emergency reasons. But Michelle said we must keep this show going, and she did her homework. Michelle, that piece that you looked at, and you looked at the whole thing. Just tell our audience more about that, and we're gonna put the YouTube up. But tell them, because you watched the whole thing, and it's part of, Michelle. Tell everybody who's watching right now, you're an African young American woman from Mississippi. Tell them, Michelle, about, and I'm from Washington, D.C., the money town, the political town of the world. But let everybody know why you research. You don't play with this stuff. When experts come on, you do the homework because you out studying them, you out working them. What makes Michelle Cox operate like that?
Well, number one, if you're asking financial experts what they know, you need to be able to fact check. It's okay to be able to take them at face value, but even in the world of finance, it's broad. Even in the world of economy, it's broad. That means we need to do the research. And for me, I like to be informed. Everybody says knowledge is power, and that's partially true. It's the execution of knowledge that's power. It's how you apply it that's power. That's why they have applied sciences. So what you learn, you have to be able to apply. That's why I do the research. So when you look at me or when you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you what I know. If I don't know, I'm going to go find out. I've always been that way, because the more we know, the more literate we are, not only in our finances, emotional health, and our intellect, the better we are and the more that we can help our community. My job here on the PIC TV network is to make sure that I'm giving you accurate information, to make sure that I'm telling you what's behind the scenes, and that I'm looking at the experts in those fields and I'm studying what they studied. That's the only way that you can trust us here at the PIC TV network to elevate, to inspire, and to educate you.
And Michelle, let me stop you for 1 minute. 50 years, 100 years, it was called blackout. They blacked that out. You're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to look at the shows like that because you're not educated. You're not even supposed to be in this room with us. You're not supposed to research like that. This is why it's so important, folks, for us to support the PIC TV network, like Michelle Cox is saying. When you decided to come on board, when I first interviewed you, and you talked about the computer lady in your books and helping people learn how to read, especially for kids, you said, I want to join the PIC TV network. You were one of the first persons. And you said, I'm tired of seeing us, African Americans, shooting each other on TV, killing each other, embarrassing each other, fighting each other on television. I want to bring something positive. And one of the greatest moves I made with this broadcast is to make you our public relations persons, folks. And she is an award-winning, has her own show. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Michelle, what you've done is amazing. You know, I look forward to you handling any situation when we come on PIC TV network. And you know what I'm going to say before I say it? When we talked about Tyreek Nichols, I said, Michelle, we're going to do a show in honoring Tyreek Nichols. And those who are watching right now, when I asked Michelle, let's do it, she said, okay, but we're going to talk about the positive. I said, Michelle, what do you mean? She said, we're not going to show the beating. We're not going to show the police. We're not going to show anything, but we're going to build off of this man's dream of being a sky watcher, skateboarder, a worker, a family man who loves his mom. Talk about that narrative, Michelle. And when you go there, we wanted to talk about the kids that were shooting. You said, Dr. Evans, I only would do it with you, even though you're my president, if we talk about the positive. Talk about the Tyre Nichols.
Well, when you think about it, you can go to any other network. You can go to CNN, you can go to AFN, you can go to WSB, you can go to ABC, NBC, you can go to all the other networks and put garbage in your head. I did an interview today earlier with Mr. Frey White, soon to be Dr. Frey White. And he said, garbage in, garbage out. You come here, number one, to get educated. Number two, to get factual information. Number three, representation matters. It doesn't matter whether I'm black on Fox. If I'm not representing you to the standard of excellence that you should expect, then I'm doing you a disservice. That's why we have this network. That's why it's important. Because you get to see you on a higher level. You get to show your kids, these are the things that you can aspire to. Yes, you're smart. You can be even smarter. And we want to be that shining light for you and your family. It's really, really easy. Now, the other part of that is when we talk about us giving, if you're finding value in this program, if you're finding value in the programs that we're bringing, you should be a member. You should spend a pizza, $25, as you can see up here in the corner. Hit that QR code. Donate $25 to help sustain the network. I know Dr. Evans didn't ask, but I'm the director of public relations. I put my money here. I put my money where my mouth is. You can do the same. Because we're going to give you the television shows that matter to you. We're going to educate and elevate our communities because it matters to you. And all the time, integrity, honesty, and representation, it matters in our community. Dr. Evans, back to you.
Michelle, I want to say thank you again. Wow, folks, this is the woman who gives. She just gave today to help our broadcasting programs come on and continue to go. But you didn't answer my question. I said, why didn't you want to do the full episode and you only wanted to show the positive of Tyre Nichols and also the kids on the other?
It's easy. It's a no-brainer. I'm tired of seeing sensational television. I'm tired of seeing us being arrested, murdered, killed. You can watch that anywhere. I'm tired. We need to put positive information in our minds. And watching a black man being choked to death or knees on the neck or being shot to death is not positive. It brings nothing to the table because that man is more than that moment. That man had a mom that loved him. He had a family that loved him. He was a gentle soul and good in the community. So why would I sully his legacy by showing crap? Everybody knows that how he passed away. Everybody knows that he was murdered. Same thing for the other people that have gotten murdered. We need to go to the next level. We need to set ourselves to a higher standard. And that's what we're doing here. And so, no, I'm not going to participate in that type of journalism. I'm going to participate in journalism that's going to feed our souls and our minds. And that stuff won't do it.
Wow. Thank you, Michelle. This is why she's the Michelle Cox Award. Your award is right over there for 2023. You again, the #1 show. Michelle, let's talk about, before we close, you got a brand new show on Pick TV Network. I want to put a plug on the Michelle Cox show. You had on the president of the University Is it Jacksonville?
Jackson State University.
He was on. Then you had Jackson State University president. Y'all got to see the repeat. And you also had this young lady on. She was on last week. She was
attorney
lawyer.
Where she's a family law attorney from New York State.
And then you had this brother on today. He was a preacher right in Holy Week.
Right, Minister Frey White, Holy Week. And he's also getting his PhD. He also was a businessman.
Wow.
He's an entrepreneur.
Wow.
So,
give us a sneak peek, because you got a lot of people coming on. And those who want to come on the Michelle Cox Show, let them know how we can get in touch with you and what they have to do to prepare about the reading aspect of it.
Well, here's the deal. And I'm going to make this plain for everybody. The title of my show is The Importance and Power of Reading. If you didn't see it on the PIC TV network, we do the rebroadcast not only here, but it's also on my YouTube channel. You can Google me, Michelle the Computer Lady. Now, I told you before, it's about integrity and representation. So many kids can't see themselves further than playing basketball or volleyball or football. But we can be CEOs like Kenneth Chenault was with American Express, and Richard Parsons was with Time Warner. And you got Tyler Perry and Oprah and Percy Miller, Master P, Damon John. We can be more than entertainment. We can be owners. We can be sports agents. We can be lawyers. You can be doctors. And talking about people coming on the network, yes, you can come on. But the emphasis is positive programming. I'm bringing on people that are positive, that are different occupations all over the world, so our kids can see us in a different light, not boo-boo down on the corner with his pants hanging off his behind. You're going to see Moses West. He's an inventor. He created atmospheric water generation. You're going to see Dr. Farmer. She's an ear, nose, and throat specialist. You're going to meet next week Nikki Sadiq. She's an author and a Christian and a mother. And we're talking about the importance of reading, because the reading is the cornerstone of learning. Reading and comprehension. It's important. If we're going to go to the next level, if we're going to elevate our communities, if we're going to be entrepreneurs, if we're going to own our own businesses, we have to read. And we need to make it a priority for us and our kids, and they need to see us reading. Dr. Evans, back to you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Folks, this has been one of the greatest shows that we have on PIC TV Network. I know you want to watch the repeats. Michelle Cox, again, she's a #1 award-winning anchor host on the PIC TV Network. This has to be her almost 100th show that she put on. I can't wait till me and you come on and we talked about AI again. And I know this is going to be a different subject on Hello America. They'll be prepared, because a lot of jobs are going to be taken. A lot of people are going to be maybe caught off guard, but AI is already here. Artificial intelligence is here, Michelle.
Oh,
and it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger. And those who are watching right now, that's going to be a topic you want to hear on Hello America. We cover a variety of subjects, you know. And Michelle Cox again from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm from Washington D.C. We're bringing you beautiful shows on the PIC TV Network. Please get involved. As she stated, so that $25 donation, your monthly donation for $25 helps us with our programs and shows. And we want to make sure that it's affordable. We want to make sure that everybody who gives and helps us on our network, you can afford $25 to help us to grow. And you can join the PIC TV Network membership. Go right to that QR code. Boom. You show you how to give and support the network. And we've seen people giving already. Your $25 per month program, your donation goes a long way. Well, Michelle, thank you again for your wonderful information, touching the world with your great mindset. And
don't forget, they can come back here and watch our repeats. If you didn't get it here, or you don't want to wait for the repeat, I'm gonna put it right down here, and I'm gonna let Dr. Evans put it up on the screen.
And I want to say, while you're doing that, Michelle, we have a brand new audience. We now can bring you guys in on all of our social media platforms, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and the Pick TV Network Channel 1000, which is our network, which nobody can touch us. That's our network. And on television. So you can watch us in the barbershops, nail salons, beauty parlors, bars, restaurants, churches, clubs, all over the world. I want to say again, don't forget to watch the Michelle Cox. I say Michelle Cox Show because everybody has their name. Oprah has hers. Gail has her. Michelle Cox, Atlanta, Georgia, 7 o'clock every Wednesday. Don't forget, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you can watch the repeats. The repeats, again, you got to see it again. And we have also a brand new Pick TV Network, YouTube, Spotlight. You can jump on over to our Pick TV Network YouTube. We just put that up today. Pick TV Network, YouTube, Spotlight, and you can check us out there. So, Michelle, again, the importance of power in reading. This is the title of that beautiful show, folks. And the host is right there with you. And she's the woman who has the genius mind of Michelle Cox. Yes, folks, we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for we're going to take a break and we'll come right back and do our closing words. Don't go nowhere. One of my favorite commercials, folks, is a commercial that talks about these hands. And I love this commercial. It's one of my favorite commercials, folks. So when we play this commercial, it got to be number one.
You did the two things we always talk about. What's that? You worked hard and you
have fun.
Have fun, my man.
That's a real star you got there.
Thanks.
Take care of those hands. They're taking you places.
I got hands. I'm gonna go pro.
You definitely could.
Easy money.
Easy money. Have you ever thought about what else you could be? Go along, son. You could be a brain surgeon. Your hands could operate as skillfully as Dr. Myron Rowe. Or a sports agent, handling big contracts, like Rich Paul. What about an artist? You can be as creative as Brian Blue the Great. The art you make could inspire the world. Son, you can even be an astronaut. Flying in space with Leland D. Melvin. Sure, with those hands, you could play for a team, but you could buy a team. Ownership. Get to wear the rings first.
I can do all that, Dad?
You can be anything you want with these hands.
That's my favorite commercial, one of my favorites. A black man telling his son, you could be anything. Michelle, and I think about what you presented today and why you do the importance of reading. And every little kid who looks at that, it reminds me of me in my dream. And when you would do, and if you see that every day, Michelle, if you see this every day and it comes to your brain, I don't have to be in the hood getting shot at or robbing people or killing people or being stereotyped because I see myself in an ownership position.
Higher elevation. That's the meaning of elevating the community. That's why
Yeah,
we have
and
to
you-
know the intrinsic power of reading. That's why we have to model these things for our children. Because the more we put positive information into our kids, the more positive they'll be, the better our communities will become. You want us a community that's free from violence and crime? Then we have to take criminality out of it. And the only way to do that is with something positive. And reading, comprehension, learning new things, getting skills will take you there. That's the point.
Yeah, and we're going to close out the show, folks. And we want you to watch every Wednesday, 7 p.m., the importance of and power of reading with the one and only Michelle Cox. Don't forget, folks, watching on all social media platforms. And we're excited for all of you who've been in tune with the PIC TV network. Look at the repeats again. And don't forget to scan that QR code. You know what to do. And happy holidays, everybody. Thank you, Michelle. We see you guys
Happy
next time on the
holidays,
PIC
happy
TV.
Easter.
Yay. Thank you, everybody.